Hello and welcome to the Madison podcast. I am your host, 80% of the time, or 82.3% of the time, if you want to be specific. New York's favorite British mortgage broker, Ben Lavender. We have a very special guest today, and the CEO, owner, founder, Steve Jobs of the real estate business, Mr. Daniel Shamooil of VORO. Thank you for joining us, Danny.
Thank you, Ben.
How are you doing today?
Appreciate that. I'm doing fantastic.
Nice tan again, by the way.
Thank you.
Looking very fresh.
Thank you.
I'm jealous. So thank you for coming on. So we have a lot to talk about actually, and we're going to take it step by step because we don't want to rush into it too much. So what we like to do, Danny, with our guests is kind of give our audience a little insight to who you are before we get to the real juice. Right? Patience, people, patience. So, Danny, can you just talk a little bit about, how you got into the business, when, and kind of take it from there, and we'll flow into it.
Sure, would love to. I actually started my real estate course in college. It was a rec class. Had no intentions of being an agent, but took a rec class, sparked my interest, passed it. Coincidentally, my father was renovating a property of his in East Harlem.
Gotcha.
And so I used that as a tool to learn and see if I can rent the apartments. And, within 2 weeks, I'd rented out the whole building. So
awesome.
I knew I'm good at this, let me give it a shot. So in 1999, I got sponsored by City Habitats.
Wow.
Which is where I started my career as a real estate agent.
You've got some real time in the business. Yeah, that's
21 years.
Yeah, it's a veteran, right?
22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a long road. I started at the very bottom. I learned City Habitats was a great company for me to learn at. But I quickly went from doing rentals and being a top agent at my office to doing sales. And once I gave up 50% of that first check on my sales deal, that $10,000 check for me was pivotal.
Yeah.
And it was at that point I realized that I can't give away half of my commission. I need to be the broker in this situation. And
50% is juicy.
Yeah, and so I decided to, look into what is it required to become a broker. And
it's that quick. Wow.
Yeah, I had the requirements and I went for it.
Yeah.
And I got my broker's license in 2004.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's extremely fast progression. Yeah. So what was business like then in 2004? Like what really changed for you between like 1999 and 2004? Because I'm sure, especially as a new, and you must have been, I'm assuming, in your early mid-20s at the time, that takes some balls to do that, man. So sure. What really changed for you? Was it scary? Were you cool, calm, collected? I mean, I would have been scared.
I was scared.
Yeah.
I was young. I was 22. But I was a risk taker. I had a good support system, thank God.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful for me. But I was a risk taker, and I wanted to grow, and I wanted to add value to the real estate community. And so I went for it. And we opened up our first retail location on Fulton Street in the financial district.
Oh, wow.
Pre 9/11, and we outfitted the office, and we immediately started to hire real estate agents locally. And we actually hit the recession as we were a couple years in the business, which positioned us pretty well in the financial district. And that gave us like a dominant stronghold on all the new construction that was coming up down there.
That's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So you had a major leg up.
We had a big leg up. We had a nice 4 or 5 year run. And back in 2008, we noticed the recession. In 2009, the recession took a big hit. And so I actually had lost my firm in 2009 for a variety of reasons. It was the market. It was a partner that I had. It was disagreements on how the business was being run. And so I had quickly migrated that business into a new brokerage. Which at that point, I realized the business is really changing. Yeah. City Habitats was sold for millions of dollars at this point. Everybody was coming up trying to be the next City Habitats, and I just saw the trend being very repetitive, and I didn't want to be part of the same trend. I wanted to be different. And so I thought, what would it be like if I started a 100% commission firm and gave away the entire check for a super low monthly fee? And this is around the same time where Facebook was going live.
Yeah.
Free. Everything was free and everybody was joining it. So I said, let's go for it. We'll figure it out. And that was it. I started the idea. The concept was VORO.
That's a major gamble. And evidently it's paid off. You're doing fantastic now. But I also think it's like the fact that you went through a down and you're open and you're honest about it is also really nice, because especially like on these, not these podcasts specifically, but when people are on camera, they tend to hide, right, the bad things that have happened. But the truth is that you learned from that. And I imagine that's what gave you the confidence. Like, despite the fact that you closed it down, you went and opened something else.
Correct.
And it's like, I learned from this, let's go. And now VORO is kicking butt, as they say.
That's right.
So the whole, the agent split thing, 100% commission, obviously, that is very attractive.
Right.
Very, very, very attractive. So how did you go about, because like marketing or even recruiting, it must have been, well, I'm not even sure. Was it difficult? Was it easy? Especially like that time in the business coming out of the recession, were a lot of people trying to get into the business? Were they weary and had like a bad flavor in their mouth? How was that?
Great question. The timing was, I think, perfect, because a lot of people got hurt during the recession, and a lot of people realized how important it is to add that extra money to your bottom line. So it was a great tool and a great asset to introduce to the market, and something that would be very advantageous to an agent. But like you said, people were speculative. Why is he giving away 100%? What's the backdrop here? What's the catch? And we heard that for a while. We heard that up until our first 200 agents. But as we grew, other agents were able to refer other agents and get their testimony on how their experience has been at the firm. And so that organic growth really helped mitigate that comment of that speculation of, why. And people really just started to understand,
because
this is a new way of doing business.
Yeah.
It's a tech platform. It's remote access. It's virtual real estate. It's adapting to the future and getting accustomed to where the world is really going.
So that's actually a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you said it yourself that the business is changing. It's evolving with technology. So do you feel like the standard split, whether it's City Habitats or some other place, typical 80-20, it's simply not worth it? Like, the broker isn't providing 20% value. Is that what you really mean there?
100%. So I'm a big advocate of gray area companies not being worth an agent's time. So it's either, either go 100% and maximize your potential, or go work at an uber luxury firm like Douglas Elliman or Compass, where they're at least going to give you access to their luxury buildings. They'll give you access to their luxury leads. And so then it makes sense to give up commission. But if you're going to be working at your, gray area, your mom and pop office, your broker is an active broker, he's competing against you, you don't get leads, you don't get training, you just want to sit in a fancy office and give away, 30-40% of your commission for no reason, like that, I don't agree with.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, despite the fact, and I think this is good for us to address, because a lot of people think 100% commission, I don't get service, I don't get training, I don't get anything, and you do that stuff.
Correct.
Regardless. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of debunk that myth for our agents watching?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a long-term guy, I'm a long-term thinker, and I know that reputation and repetition are super important. So we don't like to just be 100% commission company and, you kind of just join the platform and, you're lost and you don't know what you're doing. We have a very personal touch. We have really good customer service. Our turnaround time is impeccable. But at the same time, we have all of the traditional resources you would have at any brokerage.
Yeah,
So,
just without the 40% split.
exactly.
Yeah.
Without the 40% split, without the big fancy office, although we still have the fancy office, those are not our selling points.
Yeah.
Our selling points are the platform, the ability to grow, to be remote, and to not be obligated.
Yeah. So in terms of how many agents do you have now, Danny?
We're actually approaching 1,000. Our marketing has been on point, but it's been predominantly organic growth, a lot of organic growth.
So it's working, basically.
It's working.
The results are there. And what are the agents saying? I imagine that other than the splits, obviously, is there anything specific that they really love? I know VORO personally has a very good reputation, right? Whenever I work with a VORO agent on a deal, it's always seamless. They tend to be more trained, more, this is a funny thing to say, and yeah, it will offend some people, but they just seem to be more professional. Mm-hmm. Do you have some type of process when it comes to vetting them out, or how do you go about all that stuff?
Every license gets vetted by the DOS. So, right away, they're semi-clean if they're able to get licensed. Most agents really that hold a license come from like a professional background. Yeah. Do we go and vet deep into their personal life and whatnot? I mean, probably not, but we're very well,
that would be a bit much too.
Yeah. I mean, we're just really focused on making sure we have an overall good presentation in the marketplace. And although we accept anyone and everyone, we have a zero tolerance for people that are unethical or anybody that's doing the wrong thing in the business. So we will disassociate you from the firm if we felt like you weren't conducting your business the right way. So out. You out, son. Out.
Good. And that's the way it should be, honestly. And for a lot of brokers, I imagine it's hard for them to kind of make that decision because they're losing on revenue. But you said it yourself, you're a long-term guy, and it makes more sense to protect the company's reputation than just make a couple bucks.
Correct. 100%. Yeah, well, I'm going to be in this for the long haul. And, COVID was huge. When we got sent home during COVID, I thought, man, this is over.
Yeah.
But all the things that we had put in place in anticipation of where the business is heading, virtual, remote, that actually propelled us in COVID. Agents that had commissions pending at offices, the broker couldn't leave the house to come open the door. But banks were open, closings were happening, wires were available. And being that we were set up remote, we were able to pay our agents. We didn't need to open our doors. Our doors were always open.
Yeah.
And so we actually captured a tremendous amount of agents through COVID. And when they got wind of, how we conducted ourselves, I think that really put us more on the map after that experience, which was really good.
So COVID basically was like a catalyst that propelled you because you have the tech and the virtual setup to process transactions, to process commission, which from my understanding, the traditional, you got to come pick up your check and, all this nonsense. Is the broker in? Come back at 3. It's like, there's basically none of that at VORO. It's just instantaneous.
Instantaneous, yep. And then I started this firm 10 years ago. It was early, but I said to myself, this business is going to go virtual one day.
Yeah.
And hence the name I chose, Virtual Online Realty Office, the acronym for VORO. And 10 years later, we are going virtual.
So when you say going virtual, what do you mean exactly? You're talking about the brokerage specifically, or just the business that we're going to, I saw someone talking about putting on a headset and exploring a house. So what do you mean when you say virtual?
So outside of, everything we talked about, the website, the way that company is set up, but where we're headed is super cool. We hear metaverse, we hear, digital land, and
Zuckerberg, you freak.
A couple of brokers recently just became like the first luxury brokers in the metaverse. And
wow.
There's the NFTs, which could become, a version of your business card, or it could be attached to the homes that you're selling. And, all of these things get recorded on blockchain and, may replace deeds and paper. And so
that would be incredible because that slows down the process tremendously.
Exactly.
All that nonsense. That would be amazing.
And it avoids a ton of fraud, right? So
yes.
Things go on blockchain. It's super clean, super organized. And then you have the VR headsets, which can be a game changer especially on our national platform. I have an agent in Colorado that wants to sell a property in New York. He may not want to come here. He may not want to refer the commission to another agent. But if you're able to put those VR goggles on and show a New York property to a customer, and both of you are meeting in the apartment, I think that's epic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that's where our mindset is at. How are we going to get VORO into the metaverse? How are we going to be the first qualified broker to sell land in the metaverses? How are we going to incorporate NFTs to our listings and to our agents? And so these are all the things we're looking forward to in 2022.
So with that said, I mean, I haven't heard a single other person in the real estate business other than someone big. But to be fair, you are very big. You have a huge following and a lot of agents, but talking about that stuff. And the truth is, it's probably not going to be a staple for another 5 to 10 years. There's so much adoption that has to take place, and I imagine a lot of legislation as well.
Sure.
But you're ahead of everyone else because no one's talking about it. So that's really where you see it going.
Absolutely.
That's exciting. I'm excited just listening to you. It's going to change the game even on the mortgage side too. It's going to make the process more efficient, and it sounds like the more efficient it is, I think less cost.
Right.
Less cost to the consumer, to the agent, to the originator.
Correct.
It's going to be better for everyone. Everyone can get better deals.
Yeah. Overall better experience. And that's what it's about. It's the customer experience, the agent's experience, and then I'm enjoying what they do and being a part of a company that's ahead of the curve. It would suck to see these things and know about them, but to not put them into play, knowing that you're responsible for your company, you're responsible for your business. I feel like, is where some people lack in staying ahead.
Yes, some people is a not an exaggeration. More people need to think this way, I think, in order to adapt to what's coming. So,
but
it's exciting.
It's not easy. It's a lot to wrap your head around. And even for me, I'm still learning. I'm always looking for mentors to teach me. And I'm always talking to the right people to know that, I'm doing the right thing, because I don't have all the answers. A lot of agents give us the answers, and a lot of people around us give us answers, and we use that information to better everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's get into the news, the formal announcement. Danny, I think I will let you take this one away, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, VORO's always been affiliated with lenders. Big integral part of our business. Obviously, every house sale needs a mortgage, whether it's a traditional loan or any other type of loan. They need a loan to close unless you're an all-cash buyer. So Madison's been impeccable at their services, and they intrigued my interest. So we had some conversations, and we thought, let's see how we can collaborate. And we talked things through, and I liked the way it sounded. So actually, I gave Ben a couple of deals, and we tested the waters, and I just wanted to understand how their flow works, how their system works. And I put myself in the place of one of our customers and how that would be for them. And, from the time Ben discussed what the loan terms are, explained things to me, put me through this system and showed me their tech tools, they are amazing in terms of their quality of service. The rates are absolutely amazing, and their service is really good, and it doesn't end at the end of the transaction. They really make a big point on following up after the deal is done, making sure that you guys are good after the closing is complete. And every year they check in, and they have systems in place where they don't always have to remember manually that they sold a house to X person, or is that person going to need to refinance next year if the rates dipped? They're really on top of their business, and I think their tech is a good fit for where VORO is going.
Yep.
And what I felt with a lot of other lenders, they were never able to keep up with how we needed our business done. And it's professionalism, it's collaboration, and it's staying in tune with the tech, because the deal never ends when you sign the docs. It's a continuous relationship, And unless you have technology in place for things like that, there's no way that you're going to be able to constantly communicate with your customers, because
It's not possible.
what do? We did 100 loans last month, or 200 loans last month
200,
at Madison. So, put that over the course of a year and 10 years, you got 25, 30,000 clients that you guys have to stay in touch with. And I think the way you set up your tech is integral, and I think that's going to be a big part of our relationship's growth.
We appreciate that, man. So we're excited to partner with you, obviously, and thank you again for coming on and mentioning those things. We appreciate it. And I mean, you're 100% right. We favor, or credit rather, a lot of our success to our tech, right? Because there's a combination of staying in touch with the client on a personal level, which we do every day. We have technology in place. Like, we use technology to keep us accountable to ensure that we stay in touch with the clients.
Right.
So we have like specific measurements. Everything is tracked. Phones, emails, everything. Response time. How many calls are picked up. Everything. You name it, Shah has thought about it.
Right.
So we got all that in place. And in terms of the post-close follow-up, as well, we've got a bunch of tools that really, really help. And most importantly, for the agents watching, especially those of you at VORO, is that all the tools that we have for post-close is co-branded with you, right? So it's not our clients, because to be truthful, right, us mortgage originators like to think that, yes, I mean, at the end of the day, we need us, you need us to close a deal, but that could be said about any originator, right? Anyone can say that. So. Right. We want to give you more value than just simply closing a deal, and through our post-close follow-up is how we do that. So like, one of the tools that we use is something called HomeBot. HomeBot is an interactive tool that, the best way that I explain it, it's like a Zillow report on your property, but on steroids.
Okay.
And it's super strong. And again, it's co-branded with the agent. So anytime the customer, for instance, like clicks, hey, what's my home value? Right. The first thing that happens is that the agent receives a text and an email saying, your client, Mr. Johnson, just requested an updated value on their home. Sometimes there's also another button that says, what if I sell my home? What if I refinance and take money out to buy another property? Every single time a customer clicks, and these are serious like inquiries, the customer knows that they're going to get a call. It's not like they just click it and they get a call and don't know, because we also don't want to annoy our clients if they're just casually inquiring.
Right.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's more opportunities for the agents. Are you going to get a listing and a deal out of every single one? No, but you'll get maybe 30 to 50%, and we've tracked that, by the way. And in addition to that, I would say, because like a lot of what we see these days, and I'm guilty of this too, Danny, is like, the email campaigns with like, from so-and-so real estate professional, this is my favorite cookie recipe. Yeah. Right? Which, look, it's a great way of staying top of mind, but it's not a great way of staying top of mind and presenting value. Right. And that's what a tool, and again, HomeBot is just one of those tools, but that's essentially what it does. It's a way to stay in touch with the client without irritating them and presenting value that they actually want. So best case is that you end up with another deal. Worst case is that you touch base with your client that you haven't spoke to in 6 months, maybe 6 years. You had another conversation, checked in on them, and look, maybe if they're not looking to do anything now, they come across their friend, their coworker, whoever, and like, you know what? You're looking to buy a house. I just spoke to Danny at VORO. I haven't spoken to him for a while, actually, but you should call him. It's all about creating opportunities. So again, it's just one of the few ways that we like to present value for you guys and help you grow, because your growth, quite frankly, is our growth.
Sure. So. And you guys are super good with your communication and your outreach. Like a lot of bankers I've worked with or brokers, either you can't reach them when you have a deal because they're so busy, or you're waiting for them to call you back. What's really cool at Madison, from my experience at least, is you guys are proactive about reaching out. You guys have layers of communication. So, if Ben's not available, Shah's available. If neither one of you are available, Adi or other members of your team, Lauren and whatnot, are available. And their emails are super professional. The way they present themselves are super professional. And I like that. I like that
Thanks,
image.
man.
I like
Appreciate
that communication. I think the agents would appreciate that. The customers are going to appreciate that. And I think that's pivotal for you guys that you do that. I think that's huge.
It's something, and again, thank you for saying it. It's something that, you know, like the way that I look at it is that if a client or a realtor has reached out for you for an update, you've already failed, right? So you have to be proactive. So for instance, like one of my employees, Laura, she is my transaction coordinator. So what happens is certain milestones, realtors want to know what's going on. And those milestones tend to be appraisal ordered, appraisal scheduled, appraisal in, loan approval, CTC, and loan being scheduled for closing. So each time we hit those milestones, you guys are informed beforehand. So you're not reaching out to us to find out, we're telling you. And not a lot of loan officers do that. And Danny, if you would, because you mentioned this before, and to expand on this, because this is something that a lot of loan originators can truly learn from when it comes to servicing realtors that they work for and work with rather, and acquiring more business, is the number one complaint is communication,
right,
or lack thereof. So would you say that's really like the main component? Because all the tech stuff and all the other stuff in the world doesn't matter if you don't communicate.
Exactly. Yeah, you could have all the tools in the world, but if you're not using them, what good are they? And you guys have all the tools, and what's different is that you're actually using them. Yep. And you know, the fact that, you know, an agent can be in touch with you about a mortgage, and you guys are confrontational about the fact that it didn't work, is communication. You know, a lot of loan officers might have a deal fall apart and they'll just disappear, or they don't know how to tell the agent. And even if they did, they won't get creative about fixing it. You know, you guys go out of your way. If there's a credit issue, we're getting credit fixed. Yep. If it's a co-borrower issue, we're looking for a co-borrower. We're coming up with solutions. Like, the deal just shouldn't just die, you know, and us not try to get creative and figure it out. And I think, you know, the fact that we are okay, you guys are okay with, and it didn't work, or it was great, or we come up with a variety of solutions and it worked, or if it didn't work, but staying in the pipeline, you know, staying in the pit and not shying away. It's part of the business. We win deals, we lose deals, but we got to stay communicative about it so that it doesn't cause any background noise, you know?
Yeah, and the important thing that you said there as well is being proactive, right? So if we have someone that's applying and it doesn't really work, we'll give them some options on how to make it work. Exactly. Right? And then if there's an issue in a transaction, which, let's be real, New York real estate is complicated, issues tend to come up here or there. Right. And communicating that to the realtor quickly, right? And not waiting till the closing date to say, oh, I can't do the deal. I'm sorry, Danny. Yeah. Please send me another deal. Trust me. Right. So it's just, again, it goes with being professional. It's a professional thing to do. And the truth is that in my experience, because don't get me wrong, like 10 years ago, I was that loan officer that was too scared. I was scared of losing business. And I found that over time, you know, we sacked up and we did it the way that we're doing it now. And 99% of the time, you're able to actually come up with a solution to the problem. Because especially if you do it earlier on, you have time to figure it out as opposed to just waiting and like you said, disappearing like a lot of loan officers do. Correct, absolutely. And even if we come up with the solutions and the solutions don't work that day, you know, what we're doing is establishing that relationship, securing the relationship. And it could be the guy may not be able to buy a house today, but you earn the customer for life. And that guy might take 6 months to fix what they need to fix, but we're back out there 6 months from now. We're going to find them another house and we'll still close that deal. Yeah, there's a theme here. And the theme is like, think long term, right? Correct. So like you can't just think, you know, someone calls you, oh, you can't buy a house now, sorry, right? Not only is that unprofessional or unethical, but it's inefficient on your side as a business person because you can get that loan or deal in, like you said, 6 months to a year or whenever it is.
Right.
So all about building that pipeline, basically.
Simple rules of life. You always just have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's either do the right thing or do the wrong thing.
You say it's simple, but these days, especially I find like with the younger generation, with the instant gratification, and of course I'm generalizing, not everyone's like that, right? But it's difficult for people to think long term. So we're saying it's common sense, but it's becoming less and less common, truth be told. And
True, that's true.
It's an advantage for those who do think long term.
Absolutely. And tech is good if you use it, but if you let it use you, then you will be not doing the right thing.
I love that.
And so use tech, don't let it use you, do the right thing, and that in return will keep you in the business long term.
Yeah, that's very well said. I haven't heard that before, because anyone can use tech at the end of the day, but what differentiates you is you.
Right.
So it's like, you don't want to hide behind the tech. It is a supplement to your business to provide value and make your process better.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about, Danny, now that we have our announcement out of the way, and thank you again, we're excited.
Same.
Let's talk about something that you mentioned before, actually, which I found very interesting, that 2020 COVID really boosted VORO, right? So what do you see, like what are the other trends, aside from like the blockchain stuff, because you already touched on that, but how do you see, what's going on with VORO now? What are you guys working on that obviously you can't spill all the secret sauce, but some of it, and what's next for you guys over the next few years in order to grow and provide value to your realtors at VORO?
We always like to fine tune the important pieces of the business, which is our product, our process, and our people. It's the most integral part of our business. I mean, we can be ahead of the curve with virtual and all these wonderful things that are available to us, but we really, really focus on retention because when we get an agent on board, we don't want to lose it. We spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of money. Yeah. We're very resourceful, and so it's really for us to make sure that the platform, the tool that they're signing up for, that subscription-based tech, is delivering results, and then getting affiliated and being strategic with who our partners are, who our vendors are, that are going to really bring our business full circle. So we got, someone like you at Madison, or our wonderful insurance agents, or our team of attorneys and appraisers, and so just making sure that our ecosystem is there, our resources are there.
So key, because it all comes together. You're
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
If you're able to teach your agents how to use an ecosystem, it'll just make life so much more fluid. The experience is wonderful for the agent, and it's even better for the customer because you have a team-oriented mission in a way. You may not be all on the same team, but you got a bunch of teams working towards a common goal. And so that's super important for us, is who do we surround ourselves with? How do we make sure our platform is delivering what we say it's going to do? And then just keep doing that.
Yeah, and it's different, Danny, and again, I'm glad that you said that, because again, to be real, New York real estate is not only different from a transactional perspective, but from literally a marketing and a gaining of business perspective. It could be a dog-eat-dog, very sharky atmosphere. So,
big time.
Because I come across a lot of people who are just like, it's about me, I just got to get my money, do my thing. And it's very refreshing, honestly, to come across someone who has that, as they say, the abundance mentality and the team mentality. And again, I think that it's more efficient. Your day-to-day is actually happier when you're part of a team. Again, even if you're your own solo agent or loan officer, but you have a company that embraces you as a team and cares about your growth, it makes your day-to-day easier, and it makes you happier because you're not stressing about, so-and-so's trying to cut me off on this or on that. So I think that's really huge, and it's hard to really talk about or put into writing because it's not a tangible thing. It's something that you only really feel. Like every time we've met, like I feel it coming from you. You exude that type of energy. And I think it's key and something that people really need to think about when they join a brokerage like VORO or whoever. It's that team, it's that growth mindset. So
yeah.
I hope that, that's the way people think, but you never know.
You never know. Everybody's different. Everybody's got something going on in life. But, at the end of the day, you got to make time for yourself. You always have to be self-improving and, looking into the future, looking at what you have going on and seeing how you can make adjustments and try to be the best version of yourself, really, to perform. There's
a pattern that I have noticed on these podcasts, especially with high producers, successful people in the business like yourself, is that there is this balance of tremendous confidence and the ability to implement things quickly in order to grow. And the other side of that scale is humility and the ability to self-assess and take a look at what you're doing, not necessarily wrong, but what you could be doing better.
Right.
And I think that is honestly a recipe for success. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, obviously. But it's nice. It's nice to see that.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and I feel that you encompass that very well.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate that very much.
So any final thoughts before we leave our audience for the day? Things that you think people should know, whether it's about VORO or the business in general?
I would encourage you guys to check out our website, VOROPro.com. It's our agent portal. It'll tell you all about the company, how to be a part of us, what we have to offer, and an overall portrayal of who we are, which is great. You guys should check out the website, VOROPro.com, 100% commission. We're licensed in 7 states. We have a wonderful ecosystem. It's a great platform to work off of. Don't speculate, just join, come experience it for yourself. You guys will love it.
Agreed. And Danny, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you specifically? Website, email, call, text? What's the easiest way to reach out?
516-250-6131. Holla at me, cell phone, text me, email me.
Boom. That's it. Keeping it
whatever you guys want, I'm available.
Love it. All right, Danny, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
This was awesome.
Nice to see you.
Let's rock and roll.
Thanks, guys.